The proposals intended to end the war would see Hamas disarmed, Gaza demilitarised and all the hostages released. The territory would be run temporarily by a so-called Board of Peace, headed by Trump himself and including the former Prime Minister Sir Tony Blair. Well, Hamas is reported to have received the plan tonight and considering it. President Trump said Arab and Muslim countries were also consulted on the proposals.
To ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace. So it would be headed by a gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump of the United States. That's what I want, is some extra work to do, but it's so important that I'm willing to do it, and we'll do it right, and we're going to put leaders from other countries on, and leaders that are very distinguished leaders, and we'll have a board, and one of the people that wants to be on the board is the UK former Prime Minister, Tony Blair. Good man, very good man.
Well, Benjamin Netanyahu said he supported the plan which fulfilled Israel's war aims.
But if Hamas rejects your plan, Mr. President, or if they supposedly accept it and then basically do everything to counter it, then Israel will finish the job by itself. This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way, but it will be done. We prefer the easy way, but it has to be done.
Well, let's speak to David Schenker, who served as Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs during Donald Trump's first term. He's now a senior fellow at the Washington Institute think tank. Good evening to you, David.
Good evening, Carol.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. What do you make of this plan?
It's pretty remarkable. I think it reflects a certain level of frustration of the president, and in particular in the aftermath of Israel's attempt to kill the Hamas leadership in Doha, with a rising Arab consensus lobbying the president to end this war, and the president himself, I think, thinking that the utility of this war has long passed. And so it's a bit of a Hail Mary. It's got a lot of moving parts, but I think he wants to end this thing.
Well, how realistic do you think it is that you could see this interim authority actually headed by the President of the United States, along with the former British Prime Minister Sir Tony Blair, and as we understand it, would also include the involvement of senior Arab and Muslim figures? Is that a realistic proposal, do you think, for Gaza?
Seems like a bit of a little far afield, a little difficult, and something that we haven't, sort of seen, sort of a trusteeship of this type of group with some Palestinian technocrats. I think, once again, it's not particularly realistic. But if we have Arab boots on the ground, which is also a potential here, the government of Israel has said that they have zero confidence in the Palestinian Authority, and so aren't particularly keen to have them in, and nor do they have much credibility in Gaza, much less the West Bank. So I think it's an idea, probably but unworkable, but this whole thing is a long shot.
Well, I'm just looking at a statement that's been released by the foreign ministers of Saudi Arabia, Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar and Egypt, a joint statement welcoming Trump's sincere efforts to end the war, rebuild Gaza and prevent the displacement of the Palestinian people, commending Trump's refusal to allow the annexation of the West Bank, and saying that they will engage constructively towards finalising an agreement, saying that they want to see a just peace on the basis of the two-state solution. I mean, interesting that there are significant Arab players in the region. They're at least giving it a warm welcome.
Yeah, I think these Arab states, once again, have formed a consensus, understand that Trump is doing this in goodwill. We do know that Trump is disruptive, so this is not like your historic, traditional U.S. type of peacemaking. But from the very beginning, we always knew that Gaza was going to require deep Arab involvement to get any type of workable solution. And we first saw hesitation on troop deployments, but over time, I think, more political involvement, more potential boots on the ground, along with Trump's commitments on annexation and the plans, provisions not to allow, even the voluntary and permanent displacement of Palestinian people from Gaza, I think got these states on board.
Yeah, I mean, interesting. We don't have huge amounts of details, but this 20-point plan appears to mean that both sides would need to agree to an immediate end to the fighting, the exchange of all the remaining Israeli hostages for 2,000 Palestinian detainees within 72 hours of the agreement's acceptance. And of course, Hamas will be expected to disarm and not have any role whatsoever in the future governance of Gaza. I just wonder how likely you think it is that Hamas could actually sign up to this, because, I mean, it's not a deal unless the two sides agree it, is it?
Yeah, we've heard from Qatar, which has long had sympathies for the Muslim Brotherhood and has good relations with Hamas, that they would deliver Hamas. But let's be clear, this is a bitter pill for Hamas to swallow, the recognition that they have lost the war and they are not going to play a role going forward. I think that, too, is a very remote possibility. And perhaps that's why Prime Minister Netanyahu was so solicitous and accepting very quickly of this deal, which has a lot of problematic elements for him and his coalition partners.
How likely do you think this plan is to actually succeed? Because we've had plans before, haven't we, that have even brought about temporary ceasefires, but have fallen apart. Do you think that now Israel has reached a position and Hamas has reached a position where this, despite the quite extraordinary aspects of this idea of an interim governance in the Middle East of the US president and a former British prime minister, that we've reached the stage where this actually could work?
Well, I think both sides have had, really very challenging horizons. Israel increasingly isolated internationally, and Hamas holding the bag for the destruction of Gaza, bringing this horrific calamity on 2 million Palestinians, and not in a good military position. Listen, there are many reasons why both sides should do this. And yet, as a longtime Middle East watcher and but closely observing the past 2 years, I find it difficult to believe that this is going to work. But once again, who could have imagined we'd get the Abraham Accords out of Trump's vision for peace plan back in 2020? Who knows?
Well, it is certainly something that will be watched very closely indeed. David Schenker, a former US Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs, it's been really good to speak to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.